the wedding of Tyler Grant and his radiant bride, Emily Harper, a union long celebrated by friends and family. But amidst the joyful celebrations, an undercurrent of tension simmered, unnoticed by most. As the clock neared midnight, the joyous atmosphere would take a grim and unthinkable turn. By dawn, the estate would no longer be the site of a love story but a crime scene, a place stained with betrayal, obsession, and murder. Law enforcement would cordon off the once celebratory venue, piecing together the shocking events that unfolded that night. The question on everyone's mind: how could a family celebration unravel into such a tragic and deadly outcome? For one woman, the lines between love, jealousy, and obsession blurred irrevocably, leading to a decision that would forever alter lives. This is the story of a shocking crime, a tangled web of secrets, and the chilling consequences of a sister-in-law's forbidden obsession. The estate's grandeur made it the perfect location for the wedding of Tyler Grant and Emily Harper, a couple who seemed destined for a lifetime of happiness. The ceremony had been flawless, with every detail meticulously planned, down to the delicate floral arrangements and the string quartet playing softly in the background. Tyler, a charismatic and successful entrepreneur in his early 30s, was well loved by everyone who knew him. His charm and generosity had made him a pillar of his community. Emily, at 28, was the picture of grace and warmth. A teacher by profession, she had a way of making everyone around her feel seen and valued. Together, they appeared to be the perfect couple, their relationship a beacon of love and stability. Among the wedding guests was Rachel Harper, Emily's sister-in-law. At 34, Rachel was strikingly beautiful, with sharp features and an air of quiet confidence that often turned heads. Widowed 2 years earlier, she had been welcomed into the Harper family with open arms, her bond with Emily growing even stronger in the wake of her loss. But Rachel's poised exterior concealed a darker truth, a simmering obsession with Tyler, the groom. What began as admiration had slowly morphed into a dangerous fixation, one she hid beneath polite smiles and carefully chosen words. As the wedding celebrations unfolded, Rachel's presence went largely unnoticed, her true feelings buried under the facade of familial joy. Yet, those close to her might have picked up on fleeting moments of tension, lingering glances, an unnatural stiffness in her interactions with Emily, and a strange intensity whenever Tyler was near. What no one knew was that Rachel's obsession had reached a breaking point. As the sun set on Crescent Grove Estate, the stage was quietly set for an act of betrayal and violence that would shatter the illusion of perfection and leave a family in ruins. As the evening unfolded at Crescent Grove Estate, the wedding reception buzzed with life. Guests danced under the glittering chandeliers, their laughter mingling with the melodies of the live band. The bride and groom, Emily and Tyler, were the epitome of happiness, their every glance at each other radiating love. To the 100 pairs of eyes watching, the night was perfect, a celebration of unity and devotion. But not everyone shared in the joy. Rachel Harper, Emily's sister-in-law, stood at the edge of the crowd, her wine glass clutched tightly in her hand. Her gaze lingered on Tyler, her emotions hidden behind a practiced smile. What appeared to be a quiet evening for her was, in truth, the culmination of a growing obsession, one that she could no longer control. As the hours slipped by, Rachel's behavior began to shift subtly. She found reasons to be near Tyler, her comments veiled in familiarity but laced with something deeper. Emily, busy entertaining guests, missed the cues, but a few perceptive onlookers noticed the tension in Rachel's demeanor. The groom himself seemed uneasy, though he brushed it off, unwilling to create a scene on his wedding day. Then came the pivotal moment. Just as the band played its final set and guests began to retreat for the night, an argument broke out in the estate's dimly lit garden. Witnesses later recalled hearing raised voices but dismissed it as a family disagreement. Rachel and Tyler were alone, their words sharp and heated, though no one could have predicted the darkness that would follow. Minutes later, a blood-curdling scream shattered the night's calm. Guests rushed toward the source of the sound, their elegant attire juxtaposed against the grim scene they discovered. Tyler lay motionless on the ground, blood pooling beneath him, his expression frozen in shock. Nearby, Rachel stood trembling, the murder weapon, a silver letter opener, clutched in her hand. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow, as though the gravity of her actions had just set in. The bride arrived moments later, her once beaming face contorted in horror. The joy of her wedding day evaporated in an instant, replaced by the devastating sight of her husband's lifeless body and the sister-in-law she had trusted standing at the heart of it all. Chaos erupted as guests called for help, and the once celebratory atmosphere dissolved into panic and disbelief. Within hours, law enforcement arrived, transforming the grand estate into a crime scene. Yellow police tape stretched across the manicured gardens, and investigators began piecing together the events of the night. Rachel was taken into custody, her silence as chilling as the crime itself. While the guests were left grappling with the shock, one question loomed large. What had driven Rachel to this point, and how could such a tragedy unfold in the midst of what should have been a perfect night? As the investigation began, Crescent Grove Estate transformed from a picturesque wedding venue into a crime scene. The once gleaming gardens were now dotted with law enforcement, the celebratory decorations overshadowed by the grim reality of what had occurred. Lead investigator Detective Mark Sullivan, a seasoned professional in his late 40s, arrived on the scene with his team. His sharp eyes scanned the area, taking in every detail, the blood-streaked grass, the discarded letter opener, and the shocked expressions of guests huddled together. The first step was to secure the crime scene and gather witness statements. Emily, still in her wedding dress, was inconsolable, her trembling hands clutching a handkerchief as officers gently questioned her. Tyler's body had been transported for autopsy, but the scene left little doubt about the violent nature of his death. Detective Sullivan's immediate focus was on Rachel Harper, who had been taken into custody moments after the incident. Rachel remained eerily calm during her initial questioning. Her story was vague. She admitted to the argument with Tyler but claimed the situation had escalated unexpectedly. "I didn't mean to hurt him," she muttered, her voice devoid of emotion. But the evidence told a different story. The letter opener, retrieved near the scene, bore her fingerprints and Tyler's blood, making her the prime suspect. As Sullivan's team delved deeper, they discovered more layers to the case. Witnesses provided conflicting accounts. Some mentioned seeing Rachel and Tyler in heated conversations earlier in the evening, while others recalled her isolating herself during the reception. A few even admitted noticing her fixation on Tyler in the weeks leading up to the wedding. What emerged was a portrait of a woman whose obsession had spiraled out of control. Detective Sullivan's investigation led him to Rachel's personal life. Her home revealed unsettling evidence: photos of Tyler from social media saved to her devices, journals with entries detailing her growing infatuation, and even a few messages she had drafted but never sent, confessing her feelings. It became clear that Rachel's obsession with Tyler was not a recent development but had been building for months, if not years. Further digging uncovered a troubling revelation. Rachel had confided in a close friend weeks before the wedding, expressing jealousy toward Emily and frustration that Tyler didn't see her the way she saw him. The friend, alarmed by Rachel's intensity, had dismissed it as harmless venting at the time. In hindsight, it was a glaring red flag that had gone unnoticed. Surveillance footage from the estate added another layer to the puzzle. Clips showed Rachel following Tyler to the garden, her movements deliberate and tense. The argument, captured on audio, though muffled, revealed her desperation. "You should have chosen me," she cried moments before the altercation turned deadly. As the evidence piled up, Detective Sullivan faced the daunting task of piecing together Rachel's motives. What had pushed her to this breaking point? And was her crime one of passion, or had it been premeditated? The answers lay buried in the fragments of her shattered life, waiting to be uncovered. As the investigation progressed, Detective Mark Sullivan and his team uncovered a shocking revelation that turned the case on its head. What initially seemed like a crime of passion began to unravel into something far more calculated. A thorough examination of Rachel Harper's digital history provided the breakthrough. On Rachel's laptop, detectives found an encrypted folder labeled innocuously as Work Documents. Inside were drafts of emails and unsent messages that shed light on a darker, more sinister side of Rachel's psyche. One particular draft stood out. A message directed to Emily. In it, Rachel revealed her feelings for Tyler, accusing Emily of stealing the life Rachel believed she deserved. The tone was venomous, the words carefully chosen to wound. But what truly alarmed the investigators was the timestamp. It had been written months before the wedding. Further investigation revealed that Rachel had been actively planning ways to disrupt the wedding. In her private journal, she had outlined scenarios ranging from sabotaging the ceremony to confronting Tyler in front of the guests. The entries were chilling in their detail, reflecting an escalating obsession that hinted at premeditation. One revelation came as a complete shock. In the days leading up to the wedding, Rachel had been in contact with an anonymous individual through a burner phone. Their messages, recovered from phone records, revealed cryptic exchanges about ensuring things go as planned. While the identity of the person remained a mystery, the conversations pointed to the possibility that Rachel might not have acted alone. Detectives also discovered that Rachel had been secretly monitoring Tyler and Emily's activities. Bank statements revealed purchases of tracking devices, one of which had been placed in Tyler's car. This allowed Rachel to follow their movements in the weeks before the wedding. Surveillance records confirmed that Rachel had been spotted near the couple's home multiple times, often late at night. As the pieces of the puzzle came together, a picture emerged of Rachel not as a grieving widow overwhelmed by emotion, but as a woman meticulously orchestrating her actions. Her obsession with Tyler had consumed her to the point where she was willing to do anything to remove Emily from the equation. The most shocking twist came from Tyler's autopsy report. While the initial cause of death was ruled as a stab wound, toxicology results revealed traces of a rare sedative in his system, one that could render a person weak and disoriented. Investigators linked the sedative to a bottle of wine found at the reception, its contents spiked with the substance. Fingerprints on the bottle matched Rachel's. This revelation shifted the narrative entirely. Rachel hadn't acted impulsively in the heat of the moment. She had planned to incapacitate Tyler, perhaps to manipulate him or confront him when he was vulnerable. But when her plan spiraled out of control, it resulted in his death. The twists left Detective Sullivan grappling with questions that extended beyond the crime itself. Was Rachel acting alone, or was the anonymous contact complicit? What was her endgame? And how had her obsession been allowed to grow unchecked for so long? Each revelation brought more complexity to the case, ensuring that by the time it reached the courtroom, the story would be as shocking as the crime itself. As the case moved into the courtroom, the story that had unfolded in whispers and shadows was now laid bare before the public. Rachel Harper stood trial for the murder of Tyler, the groom she had secretly obsessed over for years. The courtroom was packed with reporters, family members, and curious spectators eager to witness the proceedings. The prosecution wasted no time presenting their case. They meticulously outlined Rachel's escalating obsession with Tyler, painting a portrait of a woman consumed by jealousy and unrequited love. They began with her journals, entries that read like a descent into madness, revealing her fixation on the groom and her disdain for Emily, the bride. The prosecution argued that this was not a crime of passion, but a calculated act that had been months, if not years, in the making. Central to their argument was the toxicology report that revealed Tyler had been drugged before his death. The spiked wine bottle, with Rachel's fingerprints, became a pivotal piece of evidence. Expert witnesses explained how the sedative in Tyler's system would have left him vulnerable, suggesting that Rachel had planned to incapacitate him, though her exact intentions remained unclear. This, combined with the surveillance footage of Rachel following Tyler to the garden, painted a chilling picture of premeditation. The defense, however, sought to portray Rachel in a different light. They argued that she had been a victim of her emotions, overwhelmed by feelings she could not control. They acknowledged her obsession but framed the crime as an impulsive act, not a calculated one. Her attorney highlighted Rachel's clean criminal record and presented character witnesses who described her as a kind and caring individual before her life unraveled. To bolster their argument, the defense focused on the lack of clear evidence regarding the mysterious burner phone and its cryptic messages. They suggested that Rachel's interactions with the unknown contact were unrelated to the crime, leaving room for doubt about her intent. They also questioned the reliability of the journal entries, arguing that they were expressions of frustration rather than a blueprint for murder. Despite these efforts, the prosecution's case remained strong. The sequence of events, combined with Rachel's increasingly erratic behavior and the overwhelming physical evidence, made it difficult for the jury to see her actions as anything but deliberate. The most dramatic moment came when the prosecution presented a timeline of Rachel's actions on the night of the murder. Using a combination of witness testimonies, surveillance footage, and digital records, they reconstructed her movements, highlighting every decision that led to the fatal confrontation in the garden. The jury watched in silence as the narrative unfolded, the weight of Rachel's choices becoming undeniable. After weeks of testimony and arguments, the jury deliberated for only 2 days. Rachel was found guilty of second-degree murder, her claims of impulsivity overshadowed by the evidence of her meticulous planning. The judge sentenced her to 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole, citing the premeditated nature of her actions and the devastating impact on the families involved. For Emily, the bride-turned-widow, the verdict brought a measure of closure, but no solace. The courtroom's finality could not undo the loss of her husband or erase the betrayal she had endured from someone she considered family. As Rachel was led away in handcuffs, the weight of her actions was felt by all who had been drawn into her tragic obsession. The trial left the community grappling with difficult questions about how unchecked emotions and hidden desires could lead to such catastrophic outcomes. It also served as a reminder of how dangerous obsession can become when left unaddressed. For those who had been closest to Rachel and Tyler, the echoes of that fateful night would linger long after the courtroom doors closed. The trial's conclusion marked the end of a harrowing chapter, but its emotional echoes lingered far beyond the courtroom. Rachel Harper's sentencing brought some measure of justice to Tyler's grieving family and Emily, his widow, but it also left a community wrestling with profound questions about the nature of obsession and the hidden fractures in seemingly ordinary lives. Rachel's punishment, 25 years in prison without the possibility of parole, was met with mixed reactions. For some, it was a just response to a calculated crime. For others, it felt inadequate given the devastation left in her wake. Tyler's death was not just a personal tragedy for Emily, but a collective wound for those who had celebrated his union with her only hours before his murder. The community of Crescent Grove struggled to reconcile the Rachel they thought they knew with the person revealed in court. To many, she had been a trusted family member, a quiet presence at gatherings, and a confidant to Emily. The journals, the surveillance footage, and the toxicology evidence painted a picture of someone consumed by jealousy and unreciprocated love, feelings that had festered in secret until they exploded into violence. For Emily, moving forward seemed an insurmountable task. The idyllic life she had envisioned with Tyler was shattered in an instant. She withdrew from public life, retreating to her family's support to process the enormity of her loss. Her grief was compounded by the betrayal of someone she had trusted deeply. In her rare public statements, she spoke about the importance of addressing mental health and emotional struggles before they escalate into tragedy, urging others to seek help rather than suffer in silence. The story of Rachel's obsession and Tyler's death became a cautionary tale, sparking conversations about the hidden dangers of unaddressed emotional turmoil. It prompted local organizations to hold workshops on mental health awareness and the importance of building supportive networks within communities. For Detective Mark Sullivan, the case left a lasting impression. Despite years of experience dealing with violent crimes, This case stood out for its deeply personal dynamics and the chilling premeditation involved. It was a reminder that even the most personal of tragedies can have roots in long-standing, unnoticed behaviors. Sullivan would later speak at community events, emphasizing the importance of paying attention to subtle warning signs in relationships and seeking intervention when necessary. As time passed, the memory of the crime began to fade from public attention, but for those directly affected, its impact remained indelible. Tyler's absence was a constant reminder of what had been taken, and Rachel's actions became a cautionary shadow over Crescent Grove. For viewers reflecting on the story, one haunting question lingered. How many other lives are shaped by hidden obsessions, unspoken feelings, and paths not taken? Rachel's story served as a stark reminder that beneath the surface of ordinary lives, extraordinary tensions can build, sometimes with fatal consequences. It's a story that invites us to look closer at the people around us, not with suspicion, but with empathy, in the hope that understanding can prevent future tragedies.